So you have your shiny new battery installed and connected to your inverter. Maybe you have two, maybe you have three. If you're watching this video, it's because you have a Solis inverter, or will have one soon, or you're thinking about having one. Hi, I'm Gary, welcome to the channel. In this short video, I'm just going to show you how to set up the timers to get the best use of your batteries, depending on your use case, of course. Now, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but it's important to point out that you don't actually need solar panels to take advantage of solar storage batteries, or in this case, just storage batteries. Why would you want to change the times where you can charge and discharge your batteries? Well, very simply, you might have cheap night rate electricity. It could be from midnight until 6 a.m. Times vary depending on your package and your region. Or you might have very expensive electricity times between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7 p.m, for example, where you definitely don't want to be drawing from the grid, and where you can avail of using cheap night rate electricity or electricity that's been generated from your solar panels. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to change the settings on both the inverter and also remotely. Yes, you can change the settings remotely, and it takes so much of the hassle out of it. So in my use case, I charge my batteries from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Not necessarily fully, but at least I top them up. You will be limited by the size of your inverter. In this case, it'll charge and discharge at 5 kilowatts. My rates will be around about 8 cents on average between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. on my current tariff, and at all other times it's 36 cents per unit. So my house runs on the batteries throughout the day, and my EVs will also charge on the night rate electricity between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Right, so without any further delay, let me show you how to change your charge and discharge times on the inverter, and then we'll get to remote charging and discharging. If your screen is blank, you'll simply press the escape button and it'll open up the main screen here for you. From here, you're going to want to go into the main menu, so you select enter. You're going to move down until it's lightly highlighted here in advanced settings. Press enter. The default passcode is 0010. So you're going to press down for 0, down for 0, up for 1, and the last digit is 0 anyway, so you can just press enter. From here, you're going to scroll all the way down to storage energy select and enter. You'll scroll down to storage mode select and enter. Self-use is generally what you're going to have if you want to use all of the energy rather than exporting anything from the solar to the grid. Self-use will charge the batteries first. So that's the setting that you're generally going to have. Self-use is on. And now you're going to select time of use. So we'll select time of use here. And you're going to want to leave it on run, and whatever your charge and discharge limits are, I have mine set to 100 amps. As you can see, when I press enter, it's scrolling down along here so I can make changes and selections. My charge time is from essentially 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., but I've set it a minute late to turn on and a minute early to turn off, just to make sure that I'm actually in the cheap rate. So I have a total charge time of 3 hours and 58 minutes. So if you want to make any changes here, you'll just press the up or down keys for the hours. And as you can see there, if I've changed that from 2 to 1, it's now nearly 5 hours. And I'll bring it back up to 2 a.m. And now we're back at 3 hours. Discharge time. So why will you have a discharge time? Well, you don't have to. But if, let's say, for example, you know that you're always going to have a good amount of energy, let's say 10 kilowatt hours, 10 units of energy that you will be able to discharge to the grid. So what you can do, if you want to completely discharge your batteries or discharge a minimum amount that you know you're going to have left, you could come down here and you can change your discharge time. You could come down here just like this, and your discharge time would be, let's say, midnight to 1 a.m. All right, and what will happen there is your batteries will dump to the grid from midnight to 1 a.m. This would only be really beneficial if you really want to cycle your battery down to 0, for example, or if you have an export tariff where you get paid for exporting to the grid. So any bit of energy that's left in the battery up until, let's say, 2 a.m, which is what I'd actually really be setting this at here. I'd set it at 2 a.m. It'll dump from midnight to 2 a.m. In this case, it would dump about 10 units and I would get paid for that export. However, I generally don't export at all. I like to keep my batteries topped up as much as possible, at least in this current setup, so I leave everything as it is. But that's what you would do if you wanted to export. It's as simple as that. Once you're finished changing the times, just press escape, save and send, and that's it, job done. For good measure, make sure charging from grid is on, so allow. And for extra good measure, escape out of here and make sure you select battery wake up. To me, that's kind of a mini reboot of the system, and the batteries, or rather the inverter, will accept all of the settings. So that's it, guys. Escape out there and everything is done, ready to go. One other thing I should point out here, if you are charging your batteries or your battery timer set, again, let's say 2 a.m. to 6 a.m, your batteries will not discharge during those charge times. So if somebody decides to get up at 4 a.m. and pop into the power shower or the electric shower, none of the energy is going to come from your batteries, because your batteries are charging at that time. They're set to charge at that time, whether it's at 100 amps or 1 amp. Your batteries will not discharge when set to the charging time. So do keep that in mind. It can be advantageous if you want to play around with the timers and you don't want your battery to either charge or discharge. You can change the times, you can change the power rating on it, but when your batteries are charging, they will not discharge. And likewise, when your batteries are set to discharge, they will not charge. So make sure your times do not overlap. Leave at least 1 minute in between charge and discharge times, and you won't have any difficulties there. Now that's all well and good, changing the settings from the inverter. It's good practice. It's good to know how to do it in the first place. But it's also extremely useful if, for example, you're in bed, it's 11 p.m. Oh, I want to charge the batteries for an extra hour because I want to make sure that they top balance. So you're going to charge at an expensive rate, but you want to top balance the batteries. That's important. Or there could be any other reason why you want to change the settings. You might want to export because you have lots of extra energy, so you want to just export lots of that energy. You're in bed, you don't want to come down and change inverter settings, or the inverter might be up in the attic and you definitely don't want to be climbing up there to make changes. Not at 11 o'clock at night. This is how you do it. So you've seen what you need to do directly at the inverter. Now it's time to show you how to control it, either from your laptop, PC, or my favorite, I'll just use a pad. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. The first thing you'll need to do is you'll need to get remote access to your inverter. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to contact Solis. For Europe, in any case, the email address is euservice@solisinverters.com. I'll just put that up above my head there. You'll need to send a request for remote access to your inverter. You can either submit a ticket or just send an email through the solisinverters.com website. What you will need is your inverter ID. So your inverter ID is really all you'll need to submit and request remote access. They'll approve your access and then you log in through the app as you normally would. So once you get the approval, which usually takes an hour or less, but it could take a little bit longer than that, but once you get the approval, this is what you're going to see. Okay, so you're looking at my pad directly here, and as you can see, it's in real time. It's January 1st, 2025. Producing a little bit of solar there. It's feeding both the house and the battery. But what you've come here to learn is how do you control your settings, or how do you control your inverter? Well, you will have some limited access. So once you log in as normal, you're going to select device. You'll see your inverter right here. You're going to select that there. And up the top right hand corner here, you'll see inverter control. You're going to select that, and it'll ask you to do the agreements. It's going to ask you for your password, so I'll just enter that now. Okay, and it'll bring you to this page here. So I'm not going to go through all the information that's available. Most of this stuff is directly available on your inverter in a different guise. The reason why you're coming here is to learn how to change the schedule. So you're going to select work mode, and you'll get this little drop down. Once you select your self-use, it will load up this menu here. The one that you're looking for is line number 2, charge and discharge. Now you can view the times. First of all, just select view, and as you can see there, the charge time slot 1. So you have 3 slots in total, the same as on the inverter, and I'm only using 1 slot, so the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. slot essentially, and you can see that there. So I'm going to X out of that. And if you want to make any changes, you're going to select the set. So now you have your charge and discharge currents. So these are both set to 100 amps, as you can see. And here's my charge time 1. If I want to make any changes, I'll just click on here. You have a drop down hour and minute. You can change these as you will. I'm going to leave mine at 5:59, and I'm just going to select OK. Before I OK that, you can look at your discharge slot. So again, if you want to start dumping energy to the grid at, let's say, 1 a.m. until 2 a.m., you would just select that discharge slot here, and you would change that to 1, and you'd select OK, and then you'd move over. I don't want any discharge time, by the way, so I'm just going to leave that as it is, 0, 0. Don't want any times changed. You would do the same over here. You'd change that to 2, and you'd select OK, and command issued successfully. Send success to whatever and whatever, and it has your serial number here. So of course I've blurred all of this out so you can't see anything, but that's it. That sends straight through, and it's effective within a few seconds. I've tested it in front of the inverter, and as soon as you send it through, it takes effect. So it's very, very convenient. As I say, particularly if you've just gotten into bed and you realize, oh, I want to charge. And look, it's really convenient, especially if you've just gotten into bed or it's difficult to access your inverter and you realize, I want to make a manual change. I want to either charge from, an hour or 2 earlier, or there's lots of energy I haven't used. I want to discharge that to the grid and, make a few quid back. So whatever the use case is for you, you now have the information. I hope this has been helpful. If it has been, please like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.